We're heading somewhere old, older than your bones can imagine. A time before antibiotics, before toothpaste, before light bulbs and painkillers and laws that cared whether you lived or died. We're stepping into the medieval world, the Middle Ages. Think knights, castles, plagues, but forget the fairy tales. We're not walking into a storybook. This isn't the sanitized medieval Europe your schoolbooks might have hinted at. This is the mud-caked, blood-streaked truth. The version that stinks of rotting straw and cold iron. The version where you wouldn't last a day. Let's find out why. The first thing that hits you is the cold. Not the kind you know. Not the briskness of stepping outside in February. Your coat zipped, your hands snug in fleece. This is the kind of cold that clings to your skin, wraps around your bones and stays. The kind of cold that gets into your teeth, into your lungs. It's early morning, and you've woken up on a mattress stuffed with straw. Scratchy, moldy, maybe shared with rats. There are no sheets, no pillows, no central heating humming in the walls. Just your own breath fogging the air, and the faint sound of your joints cracking as you sit up. If you even got any sleep, the bugs crawling in the thatch above your head kept you company through the night. You itch, you stink, and so does everyone else. You don't wash. There's no shower to step into, no warm stream to cleanse yourself. In fact, the idea of washing every day, dangerous, folly. People believe bathing opens your pores to disease, so you live layered in your own skin's filth. Lice are part of the routine, fleas are expected, you wear them like jewelry. And if you're a woman, chances are you woke up bleeding into cloth you've used for months. No sanitation products, no privacy. Just another thing to manage in a world already breaking your back. Breakfast? If there's bread left from yesterday, it's hard as stone. Maybe you soak it in some watered-down ale. Not water. That's too risky. Wells are shallow, open, and often shared with animals. The river, if you're near one, carries waste. Human, animal, everything. The dead rot in it. So you drink weak ale. Even children do. Not because it's fun, because it might keep them alive. You chew on barley bread. Maybe a boiled root vegetable. There's no butter, no fruit this time of year. No coffee to lift the fog in your skull. You're already tired. The air in your cottage is heavy with smoke from the fire. There's no chimney, just a hole in the roof, and not a big one. Your lungs sting with every breath. If a baby was born last week, they're coughing already. You won't name them for a while. No point. Not until you know they'll survive. You're dressed in the same woolen clothes you wore yesterday, and the day before and the week before that. They're coarse, heavy, and wet with the morning's frost. Time to work. If you're a peasant, and most people are, you owe labor to your lord. You don't own this land, you're bound to it. So you step outside into the muck, into a world of dirt and labor. There's no pavement, no sidewalks, just mud, deep and endless. In the spring, it sucks at your ankles. In the winter, it freezes your toes. You trudge to the fields. You bend your back to the plow, to the soil, to the same repetitive movement that will break your spine before you reach 40. If you're lucky. Most don't get that far. Your hands blister, your fingers crack. There's no ointment, no gloves. You grit your teeth and keep digging. You don't ask why, there is no why. The sky is gray, it often is, and when it rains, your roof will leak. The road will flood, the grain will rot. You haven't seen a doctor. You never will. Medicine, as you'd call it, is a kind of dark alchemy here. People believe illness is punishment, a test from God, or worse, witchcraft. If you're sick, the local healer might bleed you with leeches, might feed you herbs that don't work, might chant something over your body while you die anyway. But most times you don't even get that. Just fever, pain, and then nothing. You come home after sundown, if you're not too sick to walk. If you're not dead in the ditch trampled by a noble's horse, you strip your wet clothes near the fire. You cough again. So does your child. So does your neighbor. Dinner is more of the same. Gruel, maybe a carrot, maybe something salted if you've managed to barter for it. If you have teeth left to chew it. There's no light, just the flicker of fire. Your eyes burn. The smell of smoke never leaves your skin. The church bell tolls in the distance. It rings through the night, through the hunger, through the prayers you whisper without hope. It reminds you that God is watching, that this suffering is part of His plan, that salvation might come, but not now, not in this life. You don't protest, you don't dream, you sleep if the rats let you. And tomorrow, it will be the same. You won't survive a day not because you're weak, not because you're soft, but because the world back then wasn't made to be survived. It was endured, and only just. Now, lean back. Let that sink in. You made it through the first day, barely, but the worst is still to come. The morning doesn't wait for you. There's no alarm clock, no warm light gently rousing you from slumber. Just the thin gray of dawn crawling through the cracks in the walls, and the cold, always the cold, prying your eyelids open. You're not rested. Not really. Sleep in this time is more like collapse, a brief escape from the burden of surviving. Your muscles ache, but there's no time to stretch. No concept of self-care. You don't own your body. It belongs to the land, to the Lord, to God, and they all take their share. Your breath hangs in the air, visible. The fire went out during the night. You forgot to stoke it, or maybe the wood ran out. Either way, the hearth is dead and you'll pay for it in shivers. You move quickly, wrapping layers of wool around your frame, tying them at your waist with a cord. No buttons, no zippers, just knots and rough fabric stiff with the sweat of days past. Outside, the world is already moving. The village stirs like an old beast, slow, groaning, but alive. Smoke rises again from crooked chimneys. The smell of burning peat and damp straw clings to the air. Dogs bark. Chickens squawk. A baby cries, sharp and thin, like a blade drawn across silence. You step outside into the muck. Your feet sink into the ground. There's no drainage, no cobblestone path. Just earth churned to filth by boots and hooves and time. A mixture of mud, feces, and ash, black and wet and ankle-deep. Children play in it, barefoot and shrieking with laughter. They don't know better. Not yet. You trudge to the well. The wooden bucket is slick with mildew, the rope frayed, the crank stiff. You lower it into darkness. Maybe the water's clean today, maybe not. Either way, it's what you've got. You drink from a shared cup. The taste is wrong, metallic, earthy, tinged with rot. But you swallow. Because thirst in this world can kill you faster than you think. Then it's time for Mass. You don't skip it, ever. Not because you're devout, though you might be, but because it's the law. The church isn't just religion. It's authority, it's surveillance, it's survival. The priest knows your sins before you speak them. He reminds you that your suffering is sacred, that your poverty is noble, that heaven is for the obedient. You kneel in the cold chapel. The stones beneath you bite into your knees. The smell of incense mixes with sweat and mildew. Latin prayers echo off stone walls. You don't understand the words. Most people don't. But you whisper them anyway, just in case. You leave with your head bowed. In the fields again, you hear it. A scream. Hi, human, close. You run, or maybe you don't. You know what's coming, you've seen it before. A boy, 12 maybe, caught stealing bread from the manor stores. His mother begs for mercy. Her voice cracks. She falls to her knees. The bailiff doesn't flinch. The punishment is swift. They tie the boy to a post, strip him to the waist. The whip is leather, oiled and cracked from use. It hisses through the air before it lands. Once, twice, 10 times. His back splits like overripe fruit. The smell of blood cuts through the morning mist. You don't look away. You can't afford to. This is how order is kept. How fear is used like a tool, sharp, brutal, effective. One boy's pain keeps 100 bellies from stealing. When it's done, the boy is dragged away. His mother follows, weeping. The crowd disperses in silence. You return to your work. Hunger gnaws at you around midday. There's no lunch break, no shade. You eat standing up, a heel of bread hard as bone. Maybe some peas if you brought them. Maybe a bit of cheese if your goat was kind this week. You chew slowly. There's no rush. The day will stretch until sundown, whether you finish or not. Your mouth aches. One of your molars is blackening, rotting from the inside. It throbs with every bite. There's no dentist, no painkillers. Eventually, someone will pull it out with pliers, or a knife. or a stick and prayer. The sun lowers. Not fast, but enough to make you watch the sky. You work until your hands can't grip the tools anymore, until your spine feels like it's folding inward, until the oxen are spent and the fields are silent again. Then you walk home, slow, quiet. Nothing left to say. At home, a surprise. The neighbors are there. They've brought word. A merchant passed through town this afternoon. He's staying with the reeve and he carries spices. News, cloth from the east. You gather in the common house, curious, hungry for something new. The merchant is thin and leathery, wrapped in silk that seems too fine for this place. He speaks of lands beyond the sea, where the air smells of cinnamon and the streets shine like silver. He speaks of cities where water flows through pipes, and men wear robes dyed with crushed beetles. He tells tales of the Sultan's palace, of ships with golden sails, of fruits that taste like honey. You listen with wide eyes. You imagine the warmth of those distant places, the color, the freedom, and then you return home to your cottage, your lice, your aching tooth. Your stomach growls. Dinner is the same, and the dark settles in. There are no stars tonight, just the low belly of clouds and the howl of wind through the thatch. You pull a rough blanket over your shoulders and curl up beside the dying fire. Your child coughs. You hold them close. You pray they'll make it through the winter. You think of the merchant, of the silks, of the far-off cities that don't smell like waste and rot. You wonder if you'll ever see them. You won't. You'll die here. Not today, but soon, and history won't remember your name. The morning breaks not with birdsong, but with coughing. The dry, hacking sound rises like a chant from the neighboring huts, carried on the wind with the scent of old smoke and damp wool. You don't need to open your eyes to know what day it is, because every day is the same. The sun doesn't rise in golden triumph. It struggles upward behind a veil of cloud and ash, barely mustering the strength to light the frost-slick earth. Your body is sore, deeply sore. Not the kind that fades with a hot bath or a pill. This pain is layered, lived in, woven into the tendons, the cartilage. Your knees pop when you move. Your back protests every shift. Your fingers are stiff, swollen from yesterday's cold and the wet grip of wooden tools. You reach for warmth and find only your own breath. The fire is dead again. The coals have cooled to black. You try to coax them back with kindling, splinters, straw, a prayer. If it doesn't catch, you'll spend the morning in the freeze, trying to light flame with shaking hands. Again. But it catches. Barely. You whisper thanks, though your lips barely move. They're cracked, bleeding. You taste iron when you speak. Breakfast is a memory. There's no flour left, no eggs. You scrape the bottom of a pot where something boiled days ago. A thin layer of congealed fat slides onto your finger. You lick it. You do it slowly because you know it's all you'll have until sundown. Outside, the road is worse. It rained last night. Not the clean, soft rain of movies, but a freezing, miserable deluge that turned the fields into bogs. The paths are sludge. Your boots, if you even have them, are soaked through within minutes. Your toes go numb. You don't dare complain. No one does. Pain is a given. And when you step onto the road, you see them. The flagellants. They've come again. A group of them, bare-chested in the cold, backs already slick with blood. They walk slowly, chanting, striking themselves with knotted cords. Over and over. The sound of the whip against flesh is rhythmic. Hollow, wet. Their faces are contorted not with pain, but with something else. Ecstasy, maybe, or madness. You don't join them, but you don't look away either. They're not insane, you know. Not really. They believe they're protecting the village from plague. That if they bleed enough, cry hard enough, suffer sincerely enough, God might turn his face back toward them. You've heard stories of entire towns being swallowed by the sickness. Black boils, blood from the eyes, rot in the throat. The priest calls it divine judgment. The flagellants believe they can bargain with it. And deep down, in the part of you no one sees, maybe you believe it too. 'Cause what else is there? The bell rings again. Its hollow toll echoes down the valley. It doesn't call you to prayer this time, it calls you to judgment. Someone's being hanged. You don't know for what. Theft, maybe, or heresy. Or being in the wrong place when a noble got angry, doesn't matter. They'll die today. And you'll watch, because not watching is a kind of rebellion. And rebellions don't last long. The village gathers at the gallows. The crowd is quiet, not out of respect but anticipation. These are moments that break the monotony. Something happens. The condemned is led forward, skin pale, eyes wild. Maybe they scream, maybe they don't, maybe they pray. The priest reads something from parchment. No one listens. The rope creaks, the stool is kicked, the legs dance. The body hangs. A child cries. Then the people drift away. You return to your work. The field waits. It doesn't care who lived or died. It needs to be turned, sown, beaten into fertility. The soil here is hard and unforgiving, like the rest of the world. If you want food in winter, you must suffer in spring. And so you dig. The sun reaches its highest point but gives no warmth. Your hands blister again. One opens. Blood wells at the edge of your palm. You wrap it with cloth stiff with old stains and keep going. What else can you do? The pain pulses, but pain is background noise now. You don't even register it unless it changes. Then from across the field, someone screams your name. Neighbor, her eyes wide with panic. She's waving you over. You run. Her son is convulsing. He's young. 8 maybe. His skin is slick with sweat, his eyes roll back. There's foam at the corners of his mouth. He bit his tongue, and now there's blood. You try to help, but how? There is no doctor. There is no cure. Someone whispers curse. Someone else says demons. The priest is called for, but he won't arrive until nightfall. You press a cloth to the boy's mouth, hold his hand. You whisper something, his name, a prayer, a song you barely remember from your own childhood. His body stills. He doesn't wake. The mother screams, a sound like nothing else. A raw animal noise that twists your stomach. She cradles him, rocks him, as if motion could rewind time, as if enough tears could push breath back into his lungs. You leave her there. You don't want to, but you do. Because it's not your tragedy. Not today. You return home. That night you don't eat. You sit by the fire and stare at the embers. You think about the boy, about how fast it happened, about how helpless you were. And the worst part, the part that makes your chest tighten and your mouth go dry, is that no one will remember him. In a year, maybe less, his name will fade. Death here isn't dramatic, it's routine. And in the dark, with your hands still crusted in soil and ash, you wonder, if you were to die tomorrow, who would remember you? Would your name carry beyond these hills? Would the world notice your absence? Or would the dirt simply take you back like it always does? The fire dies. You lie in silence and wait for morning. The wind doesn't howl tonight, it whispers, soft, low, curling around the corners of your shelter like it knows your name, like it's trying to coax you outside. You lie still in the darkness, eyes wide open, watching the flicker of dying embers on the wall. Your body is heavy, but your mind runs, always running. There is no true rest here, only pauses between fear. A rat scurries across the beams above you. You hear its nails scratch the wood, sharp and quick. It vanishes into a hole before you can sit up. But you don't chase it. It's not the first, and it won't be the last. They live here now, in the walls, the straw, the larder, in your life. You've grown used to the rustle of tails in the night. You just hope they don't find the baby. You close your eyes just for a moment. When the morning comes, it doesn't come gently. Someone's banging on the door. Not knocking, banging. Fists pounding wood with urgency. You stagger upright, legs unsure beneath you, heart leaping in your chest. For a moment, you're not sure what year it is, what day it is. But then the voice calls your name. It's the Reeve. Man has died in the forest, not of sickness, not of war, but of wolves. You follow the others to the edge of the woods, the cold biting through your clothes like teeth. The corpse is barely recognizable. The face is gone, stripped, torn. What's left is bone, soaked in red and framed by a pool of churned snow. His hands are clenched as if he'd fought. His mouth, what's left of it, is open as though he died screaming. You feel the others shift behind you. No one speaks. The wolves were always there, but hunger changes things. This winter has been long. The deer have fled. The livestock are locked away behind wooden gates, shivering in their pens. And so the beasts come closer, bolder, no longer content to take only the sick or the slow. They hunt what they can find, and last night they found him. You help wrap what's left in cloth. The priest won't touch him, not until the proper rites are said. But there's not much to bless, just broken limbs and torn sinew. You carry the body in silence, every step heavy with the weight of what it means. No one is safe, not really. That night you bolt the door. You bar it with wood and stone. You clutch your child tighter. You listen for howls in the dark, but there are none. Just silence. And silence, here, is never a good sign. You don't sleep. When dawn breaks again, it brings with it something worse than wolves. A tax collector. He arrives on horseback, flanked by 2 guards with sharp eyes and sharper blades. His cloak is lined with fur. His boots are clean. His face is soft, like he's never known work. He dismounts slowly, eyes scanning the village with contempt, barely hidden beneath practiced politeness. He carries a scroll and a debt. The harvest was poor last season. Too much rain, then too little. The Lord still wants his due, coin, grain, chickens, whatever can be spared. But there is nothing to spare. You line up anyway. Each family steps forward, placing what they have in the collector's cart. A sack of barley, a dying hen, a coin pulled from the bottom of a chest. The collector nods, makes notes. He doesn't care that this is your seed for next season, that it's all you had left to trade. He arrives at your door. You offer him what you can, 2 wheels of cheese and a ragged bundle of linen. He frowns, says it isn't enough. He looks past you into your home. His eyes land on your daughter. She hides behind your skirt, too young to understand why the man's gaze is so dangerous. You shake your head before he speaks. The guards shift behind him. He says you can borrow against next season's yield. But you know better. Debt is a noose, and the rope is already around your neck. Still you nod. What choice do you have? He takes the cheese, takes the linen, takes your promise. And he leaves. You fall to your knees. You've kept your child this time, but the shame stays with you. Later, when the wind picks up again and the sun slips low, you find yourself walking without purpose, just moving, trying to outpace the cold creeping up your spine. You pass the old woman's hut. She's been here longer than anyone remembers. Her face is carved with lines like a tree in winter. Her hands twisted with age. She watches you as you pass, eyes gleaming with something ancient. She says your name. You stop. She beckons you inside. Her hut smells of herbs and smoke. Dried flowers hang from the rafters. Bones rattle in a pouch by the fire. She offers you tea, bitter, dark, steeped in something you can't name. You drink. She tells you stories, not of saints, not of kings, but of witches in the woods, spirits in the trees, curses carried on ravens' wings. Her voice is low like the rustling of leaves in a forgotten graveyard. She says the land is angry, that blood has been spilled where it shouldn't, that the wolves are not just wolves and the sickness is not just disease. She says something is coming, something worse. You leave before she can finish. Outside, the sky has turned black. Snow begins to fall, thin, slow flakes that vanish the moment they touch the earth. You walk home faster than you meant to. You tell yourself she's just mad, just an old woman with too many winters in her bones. But you don't sleep that night either. You lie awake staring at the rafters, counting each creak and whisper. And somewhere beyond the edge of the trees, something moves. You hear it. Not a wolf. Not quite. But something hungry. The snow falls heavier tonight. It doesn't blanket the world in peace. It buries it in silence. A cold, merciless silence that muffles every footstep, every whisper, every cry for help. The village disappears beneath it, shape by shape, roof by roof, until even the chapel cross is crowned in white, like a grave marker for a forgotten god. You step outside just long enough to feel it sting your skin. The wind tears through your cloak. Your lips split open from the cold. The sky is an endless shroud, churning with clouds that look more like smoke than heaven. Somewhere, far off, a church bell rings, not for mass, for the dead, another body lost in the night. No one speaks their name, not anymore, because death is so constant here, so common, that grief itself has worn thin, like cloth patched too many times. There are no keening mothers, no processions of mourners, just a few silent men with spades, and the hollow thump of earth hitting wood. You return inside, to the darkness of your one-room home. The fire burns low, there is little wood left. The baby is sick. You've wrapped her in every scrap of cloth you own, but still she trembles. Her skin burns under your touch. Her cries are weak now, like breath against glass. You hold her close and pray, but not to the God in the chapel. Not anymore. You've seen what he does to the faithful. The priest used to say suffering was a gift, that it brought you closer to the divine. But then the priest's own son took ill, and you watched him scream as he died, blood pouring from his nose and mouth. The priest doesn't preach much anymore. He drinks instead, and sometimes he stares at the altar like it's mocking him. Your wife returns just before dusk. Her hands are red, her nails broken, her face streaked with soot and tears. She'd been helping the neighbors put out a fire. One of the huts collapsed, chimney stones loosened by frost. A family died inside, trapped. The village says it was a curse, or a punishment, or both. You say nothing. Just help her inside, take the burden from her arms. She's carrying a small sack, root vegetables bruised and wet. A miracle. She stole them probably, or begged. You don't ask. You just boil water and crush what herbs you have left. The baby sleeps. You watch her chest rise and fall, too fast, too shallow. You wonder if she'll see spring, if any of you will. The thought hammers something deep inside you, but there's no time for despair. You've seen what it does to people. It rots them from the inside out. Like the black rot that took the miller, he stopped eating, stopped talking, just sat by the river for days watching the water pass. And one morning he walked in and didn't come back. They found him tangled in the reeds, mouth open, eyes wide, like he'd seen something beneath the surface. They buried him without a priest. The ground was too hard to dig deep. The wolves came for him that night. The next morning the grave was open. You tell yourself it was just animals, but deep down you remember what the old woman said, about spirits, about curses, about things that walk in the skins of beasts. You light a candle, say a prayer, not to God, not really, just to anything listening. The food is gone by morning. The baby still burns. Your wife doesn't speak. Her eyes are hollow now, two dark pits in her pale face. She carries the child to the chapel. You follow. The priest won't open the door, says the sickness is in God's hands. You pound on the wood until your fists bleed. Still nothing. She screams his name. You've never heard her scream before. Not like this. Eventually, the door creaks open. Not by the priest, but by the old nun who lives in the back. She lets you in, wordless, and shows you to a pew. The chapel is freezing. The candles have all burned out. The altar is bare. There is no miracle, just the quiet sound of the child's breathing. Slower, slower, until it stops. She dies in your arms, and the silence that follows is absolute. Not even the wind dares to move. Your wife makes no sound. Not then, not later. She simply closes the child's eyes and carries her home, as if this were a chore like any other, as if her heart had turned to stone. You bury her by the old oak tree. The ground is frozen, but the blacksmith helps you dig. No prayers, no bells, just snow. Later that night, you sit by the fire and think of what's left. You still have your hands, your feet, your wife, but your soul feels thinner now, stretched, like parchment scraped too many times. Outside, the wind picks up again. It doesn't whisper. It laughs. A low, broken laugh like a dying man choking on his last breath. You don't look out the window. You know better. In the dark of the Middle Ages, the worst things are not what you see. They're what you know are waiting, just beyond the edge of your torchlight, just outside the circle of fire, watching, waiting, and no wall, no faith, no sword can keep them out forever. The snow has stopped, but now comes the cold that follows it, the kind that doesn't just settle on your skin, but seeps through it, sinks into your bones like rot into old wood. It creaks inside you, slows your breath, numbs your fingers until you can't feel the axe, the spoon, the hand of the person beside you. This is the kind of cold that kills you gently, not with a scream but with a sigh. You wake before dawn if you ever really slept at all. The hearth is dead. The floor is rimed with frost. Your wife lies curled under blankets, her back to you, still and small. She hasn't spoken since the burial, not a word. Her silence is louder than anything. You step outside, boots crunching through ice, and stare out at the village. It's a graveyard now. Chimneys no longer smoke. Doors stay closed. The only movement comes from crows, black shadows perched on rooftops and fence posts, watching like sentries of some darker realm. They don't caw. They don't fly. They just watch. There were 50 families here last spring. Now there are 32. And every week that number falls like a candle being snuffed out. You pass the blacksmith's forge, cold, abandoned. He left in the night, some said, to find work in the next town. Others think he saw something in the woods, something that called him by name. You keep walking. There's no food. The root cellar is bare. The rats are gone, eaten, chased, or wise enough to flee. The fields are frozen. The chickens starved weeks ago, and the last goat gave birth to a stillborn, then laid down and never got back up. So now you go to the woods, not to hunt. There's nothing left to hunt. But sometimes you find mushrooms or bark, or things that might not poison you. You've stopped being careful. Hunger makes you reckless. It whispers in your ear like a lover. Eat. Anything. Just eat. You walk deep into the forest, farther than you should. The light barely touches the ground here, even in daylight. The trees crowd close, gnarled like old fingers, thick with shadow. You find nothing for hours. Just silence. The kind that feels watched. You turn to leave. That's when you hear it. A sound like weeping. Not loud, not human. More like an animal that has forgotten how to cry properly. You follow it because you're too cold, too hungry, too tired not to. And because some part of you, that small, desperate part still clinging to hope, thinks maybe it's a wounded deer. Instead, you find bones, arranged in a perfect circle. Clean, white, picked dry, laid out with impossible precision, like something meant for you to see them. At the center of the ring, a single crow feather, stuck point down in the snow. You don't move. You don't breathe. The weeping stops. The wind picks up. But the trees don't sway. You back away slowly, carefully. You don't turn your back, you don't run. Because something deep in your gut, older than reason, older than fear, tells you this part of the forest doesn't belong to men. It never did. By the time you get home, the sun is gone. Your wife hasn't moved. Her eyes are open now, staring at the rafters. You kneel beside her, but she doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. You whisper her name. She doesn't answer. You think she's gone, but then she blinks once, and finally she speaks. They're in the walls now, she says. Voice hollow, distant, like it's echoing up from some pit beneath the floorboards. You don't ask what she means, because you already know. The house feels different, colder, like something inside it doesn't belong. You hear scratching at night, not rats, not insects. Something slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across stone. It stops when you move, but only then. That night you dream of the bone circle, but it's not in the forest now. It's in your home, under your bed, and something inside it opens its eyes. You wake with blood in your mouth. You don't remember biting your tongue. You don't remember crying in your sleep, but your face is wet. Your teeth ache, and the candle you left burning is snuffed out. You sit in the dark and wait for the morning. But when it comes, it brings no sun. Only fog. A thick yellow-gray mist that rolls over the village like a tide, swallowing fences and homes and graves. It clings to your clothes, taints the air, tastes like ash. No one goes outside, not even the priest. The chapel bells stay silent. People whisper of pestilence, of the bad air that kills with breath alone. They stuff lavender and mint into cloth and tie it over their faces. They burn herbs by their doors. But nothing helps. Children die first, then the elderly, then the strong. One by one, eyes black, fingers purple, bellies swelling like poisoned things. No time for prayers, no time for graves, just fire now. piles of bodies lit in silence. You stand with the others watching the smoke rise. It doesn't rise straight. It twists, like something in it is trying to escape. And all the while, the crows sit in the trees, silent, still, watching. And somewhere deep in the fog, the weeping starts again. But this time, it sounds like your wife. They say death comes in threes, but here it comes in waves, each one colder than the last. The fog lingers for days, wrapping the village like a wet shroud, muffling every sound, every breath. It hangs low to the ground, twisting through the narrow alleys between huts and fences, soaking into the very wood of your home. Inside, the air feels heavier, like breathing through wool. Your wife doesn't speak again after that night. She simply sits by the fire, if there is one, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes unfocused. Sometimes she hums to herself, low, broken melodies with no tune, no rhythm. You ask her what she's humming, and she looks through you like you're not even there. You begin to forget the sound of her voice. Outside, the bodies are no longer buried. There's no one left with the strength to dig, and no ground soft enough to take them. Now they are dragged into heaps at the edge of the village, covered in straw and doused with oil, set alight before the sickness can spread. But it spreads anyway, because it's not just illness, it's despair. It eats through people faster than the fever ever could. You watch neighbors, once proud and strong, crumble into husks. You see men cry in the streets like children, screaming for mothers who've long since rotted in the ground. You see women kneel at the chapel doors until their knees bleed, begging for mercy that never comes. And then, worst of all, you see the ones who simply stop, who lie down in the road, in the snow, in their beds, who close their eyes and will themselves into silence. And in that silence, something moves. At first, it's just a whisper, a flicker, a chill against the back of your neck. You brush it off, a draft, a thought. But it comes again. At night. Always at night. When the fire is lowest and the walls creak like bones in the cold. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, the rafters above slick with frost. You listen, and you hear it. Breathing. Not your own, not hers. Something else. Slow, shallow, right beside you. But when you turn, nothing. Stillness. Darkness. Until the next night. And the next, and soon, the fear becomes constant. A part of you. You stop sleeping, stop eating. You watch shadows like they're alive. You track the sun as it drags itself across the sky, just waiting for it to go. Because you know the darkness will come. And they come with it. You find claw marks on the inside of your door. Tiny, precise. As if something with thin fingers had been trying to scratch its way in. Or out. You don't tell your wife. You don't want to see her eyes anymore, not because she's mad, but because she's not. Because they're too calm now. Like she knows something you don't. She stops eating too, but she doesn't weaken. She grows quieter, paler. Her skin like wax, her breath barely there, but her eyes are sharp. Watching. Always watching. You speak her name once and she flinches. Not like she's startled, but like it hurts to remember it. Like the sound of it cuts. Then one morning she's gone. No blood, no trail, just gone. Her side of the bed still warm. Her footprints vanish at the doorway. No one has seen her. No one's seen anyone. The village is a ghost of itself now. Doors shut. Windows shuttered. You walk the streets and see nothing but empty homes, silent hearths. You knock. No one answers. You call out. No one responds. Even the crows are gone. And the fog, still there. Thicker now. Yellow, stinking of rot. It coats your skin like grease. You return home. The candle won't light. The firewood is damp. You huddle under the furs and wrap yourself in what little warmth you can steal from the memory of your wife. And that night, you hear her. Not outside. Inside. She's humming again. That same broken lullaby. You don't move. You don't breathe. You just lie still, eyes wide in the dark, and listen as the floorboards creak. Soft footsteps. Bare feet. Slowly circling the bed. You feel her fingers brush your hair. Ice cold. And then a whisper in your ear. Not her voice. Too low. Too ancient. You should have come with me. The next morning you wake alone. No sign of her. No sign of anything, just ash, scattered across the floor as if someone burned something that could never quite be consumed. You try to leave the village, just once. Pack what little food remains. Wrap yourself in furs. Follow the road south, but the fog thickens with every step. The trees close in. Landmarks vanish. Hours pass, then days. And still the road coils endlessly. Until one day you find it. Your own cottage, right where you started. You never left, and you never will. The forest does not let go. The road no longer leads out. It just circles like a noose. You begin to understand. This isn't pestilence. This isn't winter. This is something older. Older than your village. Older than the forest. Older than the world. It wears the face of famine, of sickness, of silence. But it is none of those things. It is what comes after the prayers go quiet, after the gods stop answering, after the last fire dies, and all that's left is watching. The sky no longer changes. Days blur into nights, nights into something else, something that no longer belongs to time. The sun tries to rise but never makes it far, just a dim red glow behind the clouds, like blood smeared across wet parchment. Then back into darkness. You eat once every 2 days now, maybe 3. It's hard to tell, there's nothing left but bark, bits of moss. Sometimes you boil old leather, hoping to trick your stomach into silence. The hunger becomes part of you, like your shadow. Always there, always pulling, always whispering, feed me. Or lie down and die. You don't even know why you keep going. Habit maybe, or fear, or the tiniest ember of hope that somewhere, somehow, someone else is still alive. You begin to talk to yourself, just to hear a voice. Even if it's only yours, you speak to the hearth as if it still burns. You tell stories to the empty chair across from you. You hum old songs while you rock gently in place, just to fill the stillness. But no matter what you say, no matter how loud you speak, the silence always answers louder. And then one night there's a knock at the door. 3 slow taps. Not hard, just enough. You freeze. You've forgotten what it's like to hear anything real, anything outside of your mind. For a long while you don't move. You just stare at the door. Your heart doesn't race. It doesn't need to. The fear here is different now. It doesn't jolt. It sinks. Another knock. 3 more. Then stillness. You don't open the door. You wait until morning, though morning no longer means anything, and then you step outside. There's nothing there, no tracks in the snow, no sign of life. But at your feet, lying neatly against the threshold, is a single tooth, human, still red at the root. And from then on it never stops. Every night something is left. A fingernail, a piece of hair, the corner of a child's blanket you remember from a neighbor's home, once a small bone shaped like a bird's but unmistakably not. You stop collecting them after the 6th offering. You leave them where they lie, let the snow take them, or the crows. Though they only ever come at dusk now. Never during the day, and always in pairs, watching, waiting. Sometimes you hear them speak, not in words, not really, but in knowing, a presence that pushes against the edges of your mind, like cold fingers pressed to glass. They don't say, go. They say, remember. They say, you belong to this now. The chapel burns in the 2nd week. No one sets it alight. It just happens. One moment it stands tall and gray and empty. The next it's engulfed. Fire rises high into the choking sky, thick with the smell of burning parchment and rotted wood. You watch it from your doorstep. You don't move to stop it. You can't, because deep in your chest some small voice finally admits it. There was never anyone left to pray to. Whatever was holy here, whatever offered protection or purpose or meaning, it left long ago. The fire eats the altar. The bell tower groans and falls. And still you watch. You feel no warmth, only grief. Not for the building, but for the part of you that once believed it mattered. The night you dream again. Not of your wife, not of the bones. You dream of a hallway, stone, slick with moisture. So narrow you have to turn your shoulders to pass. The walls pulse like veins. The ceiling breathes. And ahead, at the end of that long corridor, something waits. Not a creature, not a person, just a shape, tall, wrapped in black. No face, no limbs. only the sense of presence like it has always been here, waiting for someone to remember it. It doesn't move, it doesn't speak. It just opens its arms and welcomes you home. You wake screaming, your mouth full of blood. You've bitten your own tongue nearly in half. And outside, just beyond the door, the snow is red. Not fresh red, old, dark, like it's been soaking there for days. You check the woods, the trees, the hills. Nothing. Only the tracks. Small ones. Dozens of them. Not animal. Not human. Like the feet of something that learned to walk upright, but never should have. They surround your home, and then vanish. You don't sleep the next night, or the one after. You sit by the window, staring out at the dark, waiting, listening. The wind doesn't howl anymore. It whispers. Not in a language you understand, but you feel it all the same. You know what it's saying. Let go. You've already left. Because maybe that's the truth now. Maybe you did die somewhere along the way. And this place, this endless winter, this looping silence, it isn't life at all. It's what's left of you, stretched thin across time, memory, grief. A purgatory with no gates, no judgment, just waiting. Waiting for you to give in, to forget your name, to forget your warmth, to forget why you ever wanted to survive. And as the snow falls outside once more, soft and slow and endless, you begin to understand the cruelest truth of all. It's not that you wouldn't last a day in medieval times. It's that if you did, you wouldn't stay you for long. There's a strange comfort in the routine of madness. Wake before the light. Sit by the hearth that hasn't held fire in weeks. Wrap your hands in cloth, not because they're cold, though they are, but because you're tired of seeing the bones press through the skin. Drink whatever water hasn't frozen in the corner bucket. Chew a piece of bark until the splinters numb your tongue. You stop counting the days. There's no point. The sky doesn't change. The air doesn't warm. Time here is a wheel that turns beneath you but goes nowhere. And you, once proud, once full of questions, desires, noise, you've become a shadow of a shadow. A presence that flickers only when the wind passes through. But one morning there's a sound. Not a knock this time. Laughter. High-pitched. A child. You sit up so fast your vision spins. For a second you think it's a trick, a cruel echo stitched from memory. But then it comes again. Lighter. Closer. A giggle that dances on the frost-bitten wind. You rise slowly. Feet numb, knees stiff. And you step outside? The snow crunches underfoot like shattered bone. There by the edge of the well is a child. Back turned. A wool cloak too small to cover their shoulders. Feet bare and red in the snow. Humming something, off-key, wordless, ancient. You call out. Your voice cracks, rasps. The child turns. But there is no face. Just a smooth, pale surface like wax, like carved ice. No eyes, no mouth, no sorrow. Just stillness. And then it runs. Not away, but toward the forest. The old one, the deep one. The forest that even the wolves once feared. You follow. You don't think. You move like your body isn't yours anymore. Like something else has grabbed the reins and pointed you forward. The trees close in, tall and black and silent. The ground is thick with old leaves and new snow, untouched, undisturbed, except for the faint prints ahead. Bare, small, steady. You don't call out again. You just move, breath heavy, heart hollow. And then the forest ends. Abruptly. A clearing. Circular, perfectly so. No trees grow here. Only stone. Hundreds of them. Pillars crooked and ancient, rising from the frozen earth like teeth. Covered in moss and frost and symbols you do not know but feel. Spirals, eyes, hands, open mouths. At the center, a slab. No mistaking it. An altar. And the child stands atop it. Still faceless, still humming. Then it stops. The sound dies, and the ground begins to hum instead. Low, deep, like a breath from beneath the world. Your knees buckle. You fall, the air thickens, the wind stills. Time holds its breath. And then the stones begin to speak, not in sound but in knowing. They press against your thoughts, your ribs, your lungs. They show you things. The past. Not yours, not even human. They show a time before fire. Before God's, when the earth was young and dark and silent, when things crawled in the deep places, old things, cold things, things with minds like oceans and hearts like frost. You see them rise, not to rule, but to watch, to witness, because that is what they do. They are not gods, not demons. They are recordings, sentient memory, sentinels of pain, of time. And they've been here, in this place, long before man ever tried to till the soil or build his churches. They watched as your ancestors huddled in mud huts. They watched as kings burned cities. They watched as you arrived, one more soul flailing in the dark. And now, they are watching you. You want to run, but there is nowhere to go. The stones don't move, but the space between them does. Bends, narrows. The sky dims to black, though it is midday. Snow falls upward, and the child, the wax-faced thing, turns toward you once more. Its head tilts. A question unspoken. A choice, perhaps. You shake. You want to scream, but the breath is pulled from you, sucked upward into the sky like smoke. And then, it's gone. The child, the stones, the forest, all of it. You're on your knees in the snow outside your home, as if you never left, as if none of it happened. But the bark in your palm is scorched. The snow beneath you is cracked in a perfect circle. And deep beneath your skin, something is awake now. Something is watching through you. From the corner of your vision, the world feels off, too sharp, too still. You look at your hands and they do not feel like yours. The lines on your palm have changed. You do not sleep that night. You do not eat. You simply sit and listen. And as the wind howls against the broken shutters and the dark spills across the hills like ink, you whisper to no one. I saw the stones. And the silence replies, we saw you too. You begin to dread the quiet, not because it's lonely, but because it's listening. You feel it in the walls, in the spaces between your breaths, in the moments when the wind dies and the fire won't catch, and even your heartbeat dares not disturb the hush. There's a pattern to it now. 3 days of silence, 1 day of sound. Always different, but always wrong. A scratching beneath the floorboards, a whisper echoing from the well, a distant scream that never changes direction, no matter which way you turn. The sound days are worse, not because they're louder, but because they want something. You feel it, a pull, not of the body, of the self, like something behind the noise is slowly unthreading your soul, coaxing you to let go. Let go of memory, of identity, of the idea that you ever existed beyond this place. But you cling to something, not hope, that's gone, not faith, that burned with the chapel. What you cling to now is defiance, some part of you that snarls into the dark, that refuses to be unmade. And for a while that's enough, until the door opens, by itself. No knock this time, no child, just the creak of ancient hinges and the slow, cold breath of something not quite alive. You don't move. You sit in your corner, wrapped in your furs, teeth chattering despite the layers. The door stays open, snow drifts in, and from the white, footprints. Human, barefoot, but far too large. They do not stop at the threshold. They enter, slow, heavy. You do not look up. You don't need to. You feel it, towering over you, pressing down with a weight far beyond the physical. It smells of soil, of wet stone, of things buried too long. It breathes, but not like you. Its breath is cold inward, as if it's drinking the heat from the room, from the air, from you. And then it speaks. Not in sound, not in words, but in certainty. A single message planted like rot in the roots of your mind. You should not be here. You close your eyes. You nod. And just like that, it's gone. No sound, no retreating steps. Just gone. The door remains open, but you don't shut it. You sit there for hours, letting the snow gather on your skin, your lashes, your lips. You don't feel it anymore. Numbness has become your only armor. That night you don't dream. You remember, not of this life, of another, a hut by the sea. A woman with hair like coiled ash, laughing as she gut fish at dawn. Children, 3 of them, with your eyes. A storm coming in over the black waves. And something rising from them. Not a beast, not a ship. Something older, wearing the ocean like a robe. You remember standing on the cliffs, arms open, calling its name. And waking with sand in your mouth. You weep when you wake, because none of it was real. Or maybe all of it was. You don't know who you are anymore. Just a vessel, a fragment, a shard of something that used to be human. buried beneath frost and time and grief. And then comes the black sun. It rises on the 10th morning. No warmth, no light, just a disk of void climbing into the sky like an open wound. The birds die mid-flight. The snow turns to ash. The wind changes direction, and with it you. You feel it in your marrow. The shift, something final has begun. And deep within your chest, the last spark of resistance flickers. Not into defiance this time, but into acceptance. Because maybe that's the truth of this place. Maybe medieval times were never meant to be survived. Maybe they were meant to be endured. Until endurance becomes transformation. Until the person you were is devoured by the landscape. Until the silence becomes your native tongue. And as you step outside, ash falling like gray rain, the black sun yawning above you, you whisper its name. Not in fear, but in recognition, and somewhere far below the crust of the world. It answers. The ash doesn't fall anymore. It floats, suspended in the air like dust in a sunbeam. Except there is no sun, only the pulsing eclipse that hangs above you like a lid pressed down on the world. The shadows are wrong now. They don't match the shape of things. They curl at the edges like smoke. They follow even when the light doesn't. You've stopped counting your steps. There's no destination, just movement. A rhythm, left, right, breathe, don't. The cold no longer bites because your skin no longer feels like skin. You wear your flesh like a coat now, something temporary, something borrowed. Every village you pass is empty. Not abandoned, emptied, as if life simply evaporated. No signs of struggle, no blood, just chairs pulled back from tables, food half-eaten, doors left ajar, swinging gently in the dead wind. You try to call out once, just to hear your own voice. But what leaves your mouth isn't sound. It's a name. Not yours. Not one you've ever known. But the moment it slips from your lips, the air stiffens. Like the world heard it and remembered. You don't speak again. That night, you find a ruined chapel on the edge of a cliff. Its spire is split in half, leaning against the crumbled nave like a snapped bone. Vines creep through the cracks. Moss grows where the pews once were. The altar has long since been stripped of its cross, its saints, its sacredness. But someone or something has etched new icons into the stone. Circles within circles. Eyes with no pupils. Open mouths filled with stars. You sit in the center of the chapel. The walls do not shelter you. The roof is gone. The black sun watches through the open sky, casting its blind light into the hollowed sanctuary. And then from the corner, a whisper, not a voice, a sound like wind through dry grass, like breath behind your ear in a room you thought was empty. You turn slowly, and you see her, or what's left of her. Woman once. Her dress is woven from cobwebs and bramble, her face a mask of cracked porcelain, delicate and ruined. Her eyes are not eyes, just darkness, bottomless, like looking down a well that has no water, no stone, no end. She does not move. She does not speak. But her presence presses against your chest, your lungs, your thoughts. She opens her mouth, wider than should be possible, wider than the bone beneath should allow. And from within comes not sound, but memory. Not yours, hers. You see it all. The burning fields, the plague carts, the priests with hollow prayers and blood on their hands. You see her burying her children in the night, too afraid to mark the graves. You see her lighting a candle for each one, until the floor of the chapel glowed with 100 flickering souls. You see her fall to her knees and beg a God that never came. And then she called something else, not out of faith, out of fury, and it came, not with mercy, but with answers. You flinch as her memory pours into you, sharp and endless. And when it stops, when she finally closes her mouth, you realize your hands are bleeding, fingernails torn, knees raw from the cold stone. You bow your head. You don't know why. Gratitude? Penance? She steps closer, reaches out with hands too long, fingers wrapped in shadow like silk. And she touches your forehead. A blessing? A curse? Or are they the same now? Your vision fractures. The world turns inside out, and for one breathless moment you see it all. The real Middle Ages. Not the stories, not the myths, but the truth. A time soaked in fear, not just of war or hunger or disease, but of the unseen, of the pact the world made with something older than itself, A time when every shadow had meaning, when silence was alive, when people looked to the stars and knew they were being watched back. You were never meant to survive this. You were meant to witness it, to remember, and so you do. You wake outside the chapel with a new mark scorched into your skin, just over your heart, a circle within a circle, still warm. You do not weep. You rise, and you begin walking again, not aimlessly this time, but towards something, toward the place where all stories go when they are forgotten, where time does not pass but returns, where the last piece of you will be claimed, and you will finally understand why you never belonged in this century, why the past still breathes, why the dead still whisper, and why some roads never lead forward, only down. The road narrows, not in width but in meaning. You can feel it beneath your feet, each step heavier, not with exhaustion but with memory not your own, as if the path itself is remembering you, as if the land has been waiting for your tread, and now that you've touched it, it won't let you go. Trees appear on either side, ancient and twisted, their branches not reaching up, but inward, toward the road, toward you. Bark split open like mouths, roots jutting from the ground like broken bones. No birds, no insects, no sound, but your breath, and even that seems unwelcome here. You begin to wonder if you're walking into a forest, or a throat. Time slips, hours become minutes, or maybe days. The black sun still hangs above, unmoved, a fixed eye that never blinks. You've stopped measuring time by light. Now you track it by sensation, a chill that spreads deeper than skin. A feeling that the trees are closer than they were moments ago. A strange pressure in your skull, like the world is thinking you back into something you haven't been in centuries. You don't remember your name. That left a long time ago. All that remains is a feeling, a pull toward a place you don't recognize but somehow owe. Then you hear it, a bell. Far off, faint, but real. You follow it, half stumbling, half drawn. It rings not with joy, but with resignation. Like a ritual repeated out of habit, not faith, the toll of something ancient exhaling its last breath. And then through the mist, a monastery, or what's left of it, walls crumbling, vines draped like funeral veils, a single iron bell swinging in the windless air. The gate hangs open, its wood swollen with rot and time. And beyond, the cloister, a circle of stone and silence. Figures move within it. Monks, but wrong. They wear hoods, faces obscured, and they do not walk, they glide. Their feet never touch the stone, their robes do not rustle. They move in slow circles, endlessly, as if trapped in a loop older than language. You do not enter, not yet. Something holds you at the threshold. Not fear, recognition. You've been here before. Not in this life, perhaps not in any. But the stones remember your shape. The air tastes of your breath. And then you see him, sitting in the center of the cloister, surrounded by candles that do not flicker. He is blindfolded. His hands rest on his knees. He is waiting. For you. The monks part as you approach, never pausing their endless, silent procession. You step into the circle. The blindfolded man does not turn, but he speaks. His voice is not old, but it feels older than any age. Carved in syllables shaped like bells. You've come far, he says, further than most. You say nothing. You don't trust your voice. You've seen it now, he continues. The wound. The truth they buried beneath story and stone. The Middle Ages were not a time of ignorance. He lifts his head slowly. They were a time of remembrance. And then he removes the blindfold. There are no eyes beneath, only mirrors. You see yourself, but not as you are, as you were. A peasant in a ruined village. A scribe copying forbidden texts by candlelight. A soldier dying in a nameless war. A mother burying her child beneath frostbitten earth. All of them, you. All of them tied by one thing. You remembered, even when it was forbidden, even when it meant death. You remembered the other truths. And now, in this life, the remembering has returned. The blindfold falls to the ground. The monks stop. The bell tolls again, closer now. You feel your heartbeat align with its rhythm. The man speaks once more, quieter now. This place is not a relic, it is a gate. He reaches toward you, placing one finger just above your brow. And in that instant you see The manuscript buried in the abbey wall. The ritual ink made of crushed bone and blood. The circle of fire once drawn on this very floor. And your hand, dipping the quill, whispering the words. You were not always an outsider. You were part of this. You begged to forget. But the gate never forgets. And now it opens again. The sky cracks. A soundless thunder splits the air. The monks drop to their knees. The blind man vanishes in a blink. And you are left standing alone at the center of a truth that no longer hides. The forest recedes. The shadows spill. And something vast and waiting begins to wake beneath your feet. Not tomorrow. Not in some fabled future. But now, you whisper a name you don't remember learning. And the gate responds. The gate does not open with grandeur. No creaking of ancient stone, no blaze of divine light. It opens like a thought, quiet, inevitable, already there. One moment you are standing in the ruined cloister, ash coating your shoulders like snow. The next you are elsewhere, yet not moved. The place around you has simply changed. Like the monastery was a veil, a memory disguising a deeper truth. You are underground now, or perhaps beneath something far older than soil and stone. The air is thick, but not with dust, with weight. A pressure that wraps around your ribs that hums beneath your feet like a low, endless chant. The walls are made of neither brick nor earth. They breathe, slowly, wetly, as if the place itself is alive and dreaming. You do not walk, you descend, down a hallway that spirals like a snail's shell, narrowing as it goes, until the very act of moving forward feels like being swallowed. The torches along the walls burn without flame. They glow cold and blue. Their light does not comfort. It reveals. Paintings line the corridor, faded, damaged, but not by time, by intent. Faces scratched out, eyes gouged, whole scenes smeared with something darker than ash. They tell stories you half recognize. The martyrdom of saints, the tortures of the damned. But beneath each image, another one flickers in the corner of your eye. A second layer painted in some ancient pigment only visible in this unnatural light. Wolves in priests' robes. Angels with mouths full of teeth. A king bleeding from the eyes as he kneels before a shadow with too many limbs. You keep moving, not because you want to, because you must. Because the tunnel is no longer a tunnel but a throat, and you are already too far down to turn back. Eventually the spiral ends. The passage opens into a vast chamber, wider than a cathedral, lit from above by a skylight that should not exist, because you are miles beneath the surface. Through that impossible hole, the black sun stares in. And at the center of the chamber, not made of stone, but of bone, ribs, vertebrae, skulls, all fused into a twisted spiral that descends into blackness. The well pulses, not with light, not with heat, with memory. You feel it before you hear it. A vibration in your chest, then a whisper in your ear, not outside, but within. It says your name, not the one you use now, the one you gave up, the one you offered in exchange for forgetting. You want to run, you want to scream, but your body betrays you. You step forward, drawn by something deeper than fear, something older than obedience, something owed. Around the well lie offerings, not gold, not jewels, books, skulls, fingers still wearing rings of fealty. A child's doll, scorched but still smiling, and a mirror, small, cracked. You pick it up without thinking, and in its fractured glass you see not your face, but all your faces. 1,000 lives stacked like layers of ash. You see the Roman soldier who buried a sacred blade in the roots of a tree and called down the storm. You see the Moorish healer who walked into the fire to save the forbidden scrolls. You see the pagan child sacrificed in winter, whose blood turned to ink and wrote the first contract. And you see her again, the woman in the chapel. But this time her mouth is closed. Her eyes are open, and she is smiling. You drop the mirror. It does not shatter. It sinks into the stone as if the floor were water. The well speaks again, but not in words. It shows you a choice. Remain as you are, a relic, a memory. Or descend. Become what the age demands. You kneel, because in this place standing feels like arrogance. And you whisper, "Show me." The bones begin to move, shifting, turning, forming a staircase downward into the dark. You do not hesitate, because hesitation is a privilege of the unawakened. You take the first step. The black sun flickers above. The well breathes below. And the voice, the one that has followed you across lifetimes, sings again in your bones. Not a hymn, not a warning, but a welcome. Because you were never just a visitor in this forgotten century. You were always a part of it. A guardian, a witness, a door. And now at last the key has turned. The descent is not swift. It is deliberate. Each step into the spiral carves something from you. An old fear, a brittle lie, a name you once carried like a shield. Here, in the throat of the forgotten, you are stripped down to essence, to truth. And truth is cold. There is no wind down here. No sound, only the echo of your heartbeat soft and far away like it belongs to someone else. The walls of the passage press in, not physically, but psychically, as if they are studying you, judging the weight of your soul. How many times have you walked this path? In dreams? In nightmares? In those quiet moments between waking and sleep, when the veil thins and the memories you've buried claw their way to the surface like roots through stone? You remember things now, not all at once but in flashes, scattered images that taste of fire and iron and blood, a hall filled with robed figures chanting beneath a skyless dome, a knife carved from obsidian, its hilt wrapped in human hair, promise made in silence, a debt sealed in flesh. You descend deeper. The stairs now glow faintly, lit not by torch or flame, but by veins of something pulsing within the bone. A faint blue like moonlight beneath water. The walls breathe more slowly now, like the lungs of something ancient settling into sleep. At last the stairway ends. You step into a chamber vast beyond comprehension. A vault carved from the roots of the world. Its ceiling curves like a cathedral, but this is no place of worship. This is where the truth was buried, and where it has waited. In the center, suspended above a pit of perfect darkness, hangs a slab of stone. Flat, circular, floating without support. Upon it lies a body. Your body, but not as you are now. This version of you wears no clothing, no armor, no pretense. Only runes burned into flesh, spiraling from the heart outward like a constellation. Your eyes are closed. Your chest does not rise. And yet, you know you are dreaming yourself from outside. You feel it in the marrow of your teeth, in the tips of your fingers. This is not the future. This is not the past. This is the middle, the timeless place, the center of the spiral. And here, all things can be remembered. A whisper floats through the air. No source, no direction, just truth. They unmade you, it says. They took your voice and buried it beneath stone and scripture. They made you forget, but your blood remembers. You move toward the slab. With each step, your vision swims. The air thickens. You are sinking, not walking, sinking through layers of self. Masks peeling off like bark, lies curling in on themselves like burning paper. You see your face again, still peaceful. But then the eyes open, not the eyes of your current form, but the ancient self, the first self. And they are black, not evil, not void, just deep. Beyond language, beyond time. They look at you not with recognition, but with expectation. The mouth opens, and for a moment there is no sound, only a sensation like wind against skin, but inside your skull. Then, you must remember the gate, not just where it is, but why. And suddenly, you do. You remember the cathedral they built atop the old temple. You remember the scrolls burned by hands trembling with fear. You remember the monks who carved prayers over the original markings, trying to drown truth with obedience. And you remember your role. You weren't a victim of the forgetting. You were part of it. You helped bury the truth, because you were afraid of what it revealed. But you were also the last to hide the key, the last to inscribe the memory into flesh, the last to ensure it would one day awaken. Through you. The body on the slab closes its eyes. A soft breath escapes the lips. The runes flare briefly, then dim. And you understand. You are not meant to possess this self. You are meant to reclaim what it guarded. The key is not an object. The key is a word, not a sound, a knowing. And it is already inside you. As you speak it, not aloud but inward, the vault trembles. The pit below surges with light, blinding, golden, and violent. You fall to your knees, not in surrender but in transformation. The chamber splits open like a chrysalis, not with destruction but with release. And for a heartbeat, a single eternal moment. You are everything you once were. The soldier, the scribe, the sinner, the seer, all threads woven back into one. The spiral is no longer beneath your feet. It is you. And the voice speaks again, not as echo, but as you. This is not where the story ends. This is where the age begins again. The light fades. The well is gone. The vault dissolves into dust. And you are alone once more, but no longer lost. Because now the truth walks with you. Not as memory, but as identity. And the gate behind you is closed. The world does not return gently. It snaps back, like waking from a dream that never truly ended. One moment you stand bathed in the golden residue of ancient light. The next it's gone, ripped away by the cold breath of the wind, by the scent of damp stone and rotting wood. You're back on the surface, though nothing feels like it did before. The sky is gray, not just with weather, but with weight, the kind of sky that presses down on the bones, as though mourning something that was never named. The monastery is quiet. The fires have burned out, leaving only black scars in the stone. Charred beams lean like broken limbs. The altar lies in ruins. And yet, there is no death here. Not anymore. Something was released, and the land knows it. The crows have gone silent. The mist no longer curls in warning, but in reverence. Even the trees seem to lean closer, their bare limbs brushing against the cracked walls like they're listening. You breathe in, and the air tastes different. Less like decay, more like remembrance. You were gone for minutes, or centuries. Time has bent around you, folded inward like the spiral itself. But something lingers beneath your skin now. A warmth that doesn't come from fire. A hum that doesn't come from sound. A knowing. And with it, a burden. You step forward through the ruins. Your boots crunch over broken glass, shattered icons, splinters of memory. Every stone you pass feels like a sentence unfinished. Every corridor a question left unanswered. Why was the truth buried? Why was it so feared? Why were you chosen to forget? The answers drift behind your eyes, just out of reach, like smoke curling from the mouth of a dying candle. But you're not chasing answers anymore. A war camp, tents of red and black, banners torn by wind and ash, fires that burn without warmth. Around you, soldiers prepare for something final. They do not speak. Their faces are pale, their eyes are missing, not gouged but given, sacrificed to see another kind of truth. At the center of the camp, a woman sits alone. Her face is painted in sigils, her mouth sewn shut. But her presence speaks. She turns to you and the air thickens because you know her. She is every guide you ever ignored, every warning you laughed away, every whisper in the dark that tried to steer you back to truth. She raises one hand, points to your chest, then draws a spiral in the air between you. Your heart beats faster, because you know what's coming. The final remembering, the moment where everything you buried claws its way to the surface, where you must face yourself. Not the you who survived, but the you who chose to forget. The you who helped seal the gate and now must open it again. The spiral turns once more, but now it is not beneath you. It is within. You feel it winding around your spine, up through your ribs, blooming behind your eyes like a constellation awakening after centuries of sleep. Every breath you take drags memory from the deep, a slow, quiet unraveling of the threads you once used to hold yourself together. The war camp fades, not like a dream, but like mist fleeing the sun, and you are left standing in a space that defies language. Not darkness, not light. Something in between, the place before names, before guilt, before identity. It is here that the last gate waits, not hidden, not locked, simply unrecognized. It takes the shape of a mirror, but it does not reflect. It remembers. Not your face, not your form, but your intent. It shows you not what you are, but what you were when you chose. And what you chose was silent. You see yourself as you once were. Before the veil, before the fracture, a figure clad not in armor, but in resolve. Neither man nor woman, neither young nor old. Just purpose draped in skin. You are kneeling, your hands soaked in ink and blood, sealing the words that would blind generations. You are surrounded by others, once guardians, now conspirators. Their faces are solemn, not cruel, just afraid. Because the truth was too heavy, too bright, too alive. It pulsed beneath the earth, within the stones, in the rhythm of wind and root and bone. And something was coming through it. Something ancient, something real. Not evil, but liberating in a way the world wasn't ready for. You all agreed to bury it, to break the line of memory, to sacrifice yourselves to forgetfulness, and to pass that forgetting down like a curse. You knew it would return, that someone would open the spiral again. You just didn't know it would be you. The mirror ripples, the image falters, and in its place stands the final version of yourself. The unbroken one. They reach forward slowly, tenderly, and their hand passes through the mirror, not to shatter it, but to offer it. They are not calling you home. They are returning you to yourself. You step forward, not with fear, but with surrender. The kind of surrender that isn't defeat, but release. And when your hands meet, the spiral collapses inward. The mirror implodes into stardust, and you fall again. But this time you do not land in memory. You land in the present. Your knees hit cold stone. Your hands touch damp earth, and you know, immediately, that you're not alone. You are back in the world, but the world is watching. Around you, figures emerge. Not from shadows, but from stillness. Villagers, wanderers, outcasts, all drawn to this place, all remembering something they never knew they'd forgotten. Each of them carries the mark, some on their hands, some on their throats, some behind their eyes. They have come because the spiral called them, because you remembered. You rise slowly, your breath curls in the chilled air, and the people part reverently, not for a king, not for a prophet, but for one of their own, who walked through the fire and brought back a language long forbidden. Someone steps forward, a child no more than 10 holding a scrap of parchment. You recognize the writing. It's yours from lifetimes ago, a fragment of a truth you once buried in the cracks of a chapel wall, hoping someone, anyone, would find it. The child looks up at you. Their eyes are clear. No more forgetting, they ask? Your voice cracks like thawed earth. No more forgetting. And in that moment, the wind stirs the leaves like a chorus of whispers. Not ghosts, not warnings. Welcome. The final gate was never a door in stone. It was the willingness to see, to carry truth not as weapon or burden, but as belonging. And now the others can remember too, one by one, like stars relighting the sky. And the age of silence at long last begins to end. The dawn does not break. It emerges, like an old truth stepping back into the world, cautious and slow. The sky pales with reverence, not radiance. No fanfare, no birdsong, just the hush of a world beginning again. A world holding its breath. And there you stand, at the center of a circle of quiet souls. Some cloaked in rags, others armored in grief, all bound by the same unspoken knowing. They look to you not as leader, not even as guide, but as witness. The first to remember, the first to return. The child still clutches your old parchment. It trembles slightly in their hands, an echo of the tremble inside you. You take it gently, unfolding the fragile scrap. The ink has faded, but the words haven't. Not really. They were never just written. They were carved into time, a fragment. Let it not be power that guards the gate, but tenderness. Let no truth return in violence, but with the stillness of water and the warmth of hands held in the dark. You read it aloud, softly, and when you finish, the wind carries it outward, through the trees, across the stones, into the bones of the hills. You hear it repeat in whispers, not spoken by mouths, but remembered by place. The land itself has been waiting. All of it. You feel it in the soil beneath your feet, in the silence between breaths. The spiral was not just a gate. It was a promise, a cycle of concealment and return. What was hidden will be seen. What was lost will not be restored, but transformed. The villagers begin to move, each of them drawn in different directions. Some return to their homes, now made sacred by understanding. Others travel outward, walking paths they've never dared before, maps written in their blood. And a few stay, with you. You do not ask them to. They do not speak of why, but they know. This place is no longer a ruin. It is an ember, and embers need tending. So you begin to rebuild. Not with hammers, not with blueprints, but with ritual. You sweep the stone floor with your hands. You stack fallen bricks into altars that remember warmth. You collect the burned wood not to discard it, but to carve it. Into shapes, into sigils, into story. The ones who stayed do the same. They bring bread baked in silence. They bring herbs that bloom only under moonlight. They bring old songs sung to infants who forgot them before they could speak. You sit around a small fire one night. Your first fire since the spiral closed. The flames don't roar, they whisper. A thin line of smoke rises, carrying memory upward like prayer. And someone, an elder with eyes like dusk, asks the question you've been holding since you returned. What happens now? You don't answer right away, because you're not sure. Because the question isn't about action, it's about meaning. You look into the fire and you speak, not with certainty but with faith. We wait. The word feels strange in your mouth, but not wrong. We wait and we remember. And when others come, when they feel the pull, the hum, the dream, we tell them what was forgotten, what was buried, what was feared. Not all at once. Not with fire, with hands, with stories, with quiet. The elder nods. Someone else hums. A small sound. A song maybe. Or just the breath of peace. And in that moment something shifts again. Not in the sky, not in the earth. In you. You realize you are not here to lead the return. You are here to be it. A living remembrance. A perfect, not whole, but present. You look to the horizon. Not to escape, but to welcome. Because soon others will come, carrying their own fragments, their own spirals. And when they arrive, you will not give them answers. You will give them space. To remember, to grieve, to awaken. And slowly a new age will begin. Not built on forgetting, but on the beauty of memory, the pain of truth, the soft trembling joy of a world that dares to know itself again. The wind has changed again. But this time it doesn't carry the scent of ash or blood or forgetting. It carries seed, soft, nearly invisible. The kind of change that does not shout but settles, slips into soil, waits for rain. And beneath it all, a silence blooms. Not the silence of fear or suppression, but the sacred hush of something just beginning to live. You stand beneath a sky that no longer feels distant. It no longer watches. It witnesses. The stars overhead have shed their coldness. Now they flicker like eyes learning to weep again, like they too remember what was lost and what is slowly returning. Around you the others sleep, not from exhaustion but trust. This place, once a forgotten ruin, now breathes with intention. It is no longer merely stone and shadow. It is alive with remembering. You step quietly through the sleeping circle, past the embers of your final fire, toward the edge of the clearing where the forest meets the unknown. You pause, not in fear, in reverence, because you understand now, this isn't the end of the journey. This was only the unsealing, the first breath, the opening of eyes in a body long asleep. There will be more to face, more gates, more truths that splinter and burn. But you are not who you were. You are not wandering blind through history's bones. You are part of the pulse now, the rhythm of return. And somewhere out there, someone is stirring in their own sleep, haunted by dreams they can't explain, drawn toward a truth they haven't yet named. They will wake, they will seek, and they will find this place, or one like it. Because the spiral never stops. It waits, patiently, lovingly, like a mother with open arms. And when they come, they won't be alone. You'll be here, or someone like you. Not as a prophet, but as a keeper of flame. The last gate was not a test. It was a remembering that we are not meant to walk these stories alone, that the past is not a chain, but a key. And when you hold it gently, without shame, without fear, it unlocks the present in ways no sword ever could. So now as you step back into the hush of your own room, as the screen dims and the silence returns, I ask you gently, quietly, what have you forgotten? What spiral has been turning beneath your skin all this time? And what would happen if you let it speak? Dim the lights, feel the quiet. And if this story touched something buried deep within, don't turn away from it. Sit with it, walk with it, let it echo. And maybe, let me know where you're listening from. The world is wide, but the circle is growing, one whisper at a time. Until our next journey, sleep well, dear traveler, and may the memory find you again when you're ready. Good night,